So today on IT Career Helper, I'm talking about exams. It's a subject that I've been thinking about a lot recently. I've taken a couple of exams recently, and I just want to give people an idea of what to expect, why they should think about taking certifications, why it's good for their career, and which exams are good starting points to start getting certified. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about why you should consider getting a certification. So it may be that your employer has approached you and said, look, we need you to pass a certain number of exams so that we can get a better Microsoft partner accreditation. And obviously that's of benefit to the employer, but it's not necessarily of benefit to you unless they're offering you a pay rise or something else to go along with the certification. A lot of people feel that it's not worth their time. They're expected to study out of hours. They're expected to perhaps pay for training materials, which the company won't reimburse them for. Some people are lucky, they get sent on a course, or unlucky if you don't like going on courses, which I don't. And generally the company will pay for you to take the exam, but the rest, it's still a lot of effort on your part for something that you may perceive of being of benefit to the company, but not being a benefit personally. I don't agree with this train of thought at all. I think that certifications are really important from a personal development perspective. I understand the argument that they perhaps aren't worth as much as employers may believe they are from a technical perspective. You know, at the end of the day, anyone can study for an exam and pass an exam. It doesn't mean they've necessarily got the technical knowledge to put that theory into practice, if you like. Just because you've passed an Azure exam doesn't mean you're necessarily an Azure expert, even though a piece of paper might say you are. But at the same time, the exam isn't necessarily to prove that you have the technical knowledge. In my opinion, it's more to make you valuable to potential employers. So, for example, if I was interviewing two people, one person had a certification that was beneficial to the business in that it counted towards a partner accreditation, and the other person perhaps didn't. And if you sit down and talk to the person in the interview, and the person who's got the cert might say, "Oh, I got it because my company told me I had to get it." Fair enough, that's fine. They might say, "I went out and self-studied it. It wasn't anything to do with my company." That's a lot better. If someone's willing to put the effort in and prove that they are willing to go and better themselves outside of work, that's obviously a big selling point for that person as a potential hire. And then the person who doesn't have the cert, maybe they've just not been given the opportunity, maybe they don't know about the value of the cert, or maybe they just haven't bothered because they don't think it's worth the time. Obviously, it's going to save the company money in that they don't have to put someone else through the certification process if they do pay for it, or they don't have to pay for someone to take an exam. They don't have to invest any of that person's time in studying if they do offer studying in work hours. So generally, a company will look favourably upon certifications. Also, your CV isn't necessarily going to go to the most technical person straight away. Your CV might hit HR. HR look at it and they go, well, this person doesn't have any formal training. We're not going to put this CV forward to be considered by the actual hiring manager. So it's good because they get you through the HR firewall. So it's good because companies find them desirable for their accreditations, because at the end of the day, if you have better Microsoft accreditations, you get things like preferential pricing, you get past leads by Microsoft, and it's very valuable to a company. You can get reduced cost licensing, all sorts of stuff, if you have a good accreditation with Microsoft. So they're very desirable from an employer's perspective, and therefore they're valuable to you personally because they will help you to further your career. If you want to go for an interview for a new job, the certifications are a great starting point. Again, if you mention certifications in an interview and you can say, look, I've put the effort in, I've earned these certifications, I know they all count towards your Microsoft accreditations. That's going to make you a pretty desirable hire, as long as you can back the certifications up with actual knowledge and get through the sort of soft skills stage of the interview as well. So in general, I think they're very valuable. I think they're quite undervalued by a lot of people in the profession. I think a lot of people sort of look down on them and say they're a waste of time, they can't bother to do them, and they don't want to pay for them. At the end of the day, Microsoft certification's about £100, slightly over for some of the sort of higher level ones. So, you know, you look at £100 spend, plus any training materials. It's all available for free on Microsoft Learn. You don't need to buy any training materials. You can watch a couple of YouTube videos and run through the stuff on Microsoft Learn and pretty much prepare yourself for any of the exams, in my opinion. I like to pay for the measure up tests. You can also buy practice tests, and I find that I use them for the bulk of my study, to be honest. They're really good, and they have a feature where if you answer a question incorrectly or correctly, you can show the answer and why it's the answer, and that will give you the Learn articles to go off and read up on that particular thing. So I find them very helpful and use them for a lot of exams. You also get access to Microsoft Learn inside the exam now, which I took my first exam where that was in place a few days ago, and it's crazy. I got questions about things that I'd never heard of, definitely weren't in the study material, and definitely weren't referenced on the Microsoft website for the exam. And I literally copy and pasted, command switches and features of Azure storage accounts and things that I didn't know about and wasn't expecting to be in the exam into Learn, read the Learn article and was able to answer the question based on that. You can pretty much cheese the exams by just pasting in the answers for the multiple choice questions and then picking the best one based off the related articles that come up on Learn. So, that's another point against the how relevant are these from a technical perspective, how much do they actually matter and how much do they show the information. But also that's a big leap in the ease of getting the certification, and it simplifies the certification process somewhat, reducing the amount of revision that you may have to do. I know that, again, there's arguments for you should lab the whole thing, you should actually know the technology, and you should use the proper knowledge to get the cert rather than sort of cheating your way through it. It's no different to using brain dumps. It's no different to, you don't necessarily have a working knowledge of something if you just cheat through the exam by reading Learn articles. But Microsoft have put that option there. It's a very good option if you're sort of 70% sure that you're going to get through the exam and you just need to pick up a few points on some concepts that you're not that familiar with. That would be my sort of takeaway, would be get as much knowledge as you possibly can for the exam. But if there's something that you just don't understand and you just need to be able to reference, you can reference that in the exams now. So I think overall it's worth looking at the exams. There's a few entry-level exams which I think are worth considering if you've not taken an exam before, or you're looking to get your first exam. You don't necessarily work in IT, you're looking to sort of break through and you want something on your CV that proves that you've put the hours in and you've tried to get some knowledge before going into your first technical role. There's 3 exams from Microsoft that I think are worth considering. There's the AZ900, which is the Azure Fundamentals exam. There's the MS900, which is the 365 exam, and then there's the SC900, which is the security exam. So if we start off with the 900, the AZ900, it basically covers off what is cloud computing, what are the benefits of using cloud services, what cloud services does Microsoft offer, what are the core Azure components. It talks a bit about Azure Compute, Azure Storage, identity and access, cost and compliance, and a couple of other bits and bobs, monitoring and security and stuff. It's all at a very, very high level. There's no really technical, this is broken, how do you fix it, or anything like that. It's fairly basic. If you know what the Azure services are, you can probably go in and blag the exam. And it's a very easy entry point. The 365 one's similar. It basically talks about things like Intune. It talks about cloud service types again. It talks about what Microsoft 365 is and how it works, why it's good. It talks about Azure Active Directory or Entra. Now you're probably going to get asked about things like conditional access. You're going to get asked about security features and why it's beneficial to have your identities in the cloud or on-prem and that kind of thing. So it's a good sort of building block, fundamental starting point. If you don't have a lot of knowledge, I believe there are some simpler Microsoft exams. I can't think what they are off the top of my head, but there's some really basic. I don't think it's the 100s or the 101s, but there's another set of numbers which I don't think are worth looking at. I think you should stick to the 900s for your first exams. Get those. There's a few exams I probably wouldn't look at. The CompTIA exam, the A+. I don't know if it's changed. I haven't looked at it for a number of years, but I know a lot of people who've gone through the A+, and to be honest, I don't think it's worth that much. It's not really a desirable exam. It doesn't count towards Microsoft partner levels, whereas all these 900 ones do. So it's definitely beneficial to stick to the Microsoft technologies. It's very, very widely used. If you go out and get a certification in SUSE Linux or something, it's not going to be as valuable to a potential employer as a generic Microsoft cert like one of these, especially these certifications in cloud services. It's a big market at the moment. A lot of MSPs are using these services, selling the services, supporting them. So they're very, very good starting points for your exam accreditation. Something else that gets talked about quite a lot is the CCNA. A lot of people I know have CCNAs, and they've gotten CCNAs through college or through university as part of a degree or part of a higher education course. I personally think that devalues the CCNA a bit. I've some of the guys I know who've passed that through those tracks don't necessarily feel that they have the Cisco knowledge or the networking knowledge that they would have if they'd self-studied it. I think it's a difficult one because it's part of a wider business IT sort of course. So I think if someone's got a CCNA that they've gone out and gotten on their own off their own back, and they've paid the enormous sums of money that you need to pay to get one, great, that's fine, and I think it's a good fundamental networking exam. But to be honest, I'd probably go back to CompTIAs and do a Network Plus or something if you really, really wanted to get a network exam. I think the Network Plus and Security Plus are really good in comparison to the A+, which I don't think is worth looking at necessarily. There's obviously other exams from other providers. You can get certified in any number of vendor technologies. You can get certified with HP. You can probably get certified with Dell for their various products. You can get certified with different firewall vendors, FortiGate, Palo Alto, all sorts of vendors offer their own certifications, and I think they're worth looking at down the line. But I think for your fundamental building block first certs, you should look at the Microsoft exams. You should look at the Microsoft 900 exams. Maybe try and get the 365 one and the Azure one first. They both count towards Microsoft Partner accreditation, so they're both very desirable for employers, and they're fairly simple, fairly easy exams. They cost you less than £100 to do the exam, and it can all be self-studied quite easily. So I think that's a very good starting point for anyone who doesn't have any exams. After that, you've got the 100s. I think it's the MS100, MS101. They're not the basic ones that I referenced earlier. I can't think what they are. They might have even discontinued them. But yeah, the 100s and 101s are the expert, I think, like certified expert or something. They're a good next step after you've done the 900s. It's a couple of exams, and then you get one certification for having both of the exams. In a lot of the cases, I think a lot of them have been discontinued this year and replaced with new exams, maybe like a 102 or something, which is a sort of combined exam that's got the contents of both. Microsoft changed the numbers every few years. They used to have the 346 and the 347, which were the 365 ones, and then they swapped them to the 100 and the 101, and now they've got the 102. So it's tricky to keep up. But the Microsoft certification website, the credential website, is really good. It gives you all the different certifications. It gives you all the exams that you need to pass those certifications. For anyone not familiar with the system, basically there's exams and then there's certs. If you pass an exam, it counts towards a cert. Some certs are only a single exam, so you might pass one exam and get a certification. So like the AZ140 is the Azure Virtual Desktop Specialization certification. If you pass the AZ140 exam, you immediately get the certification with no further work. There's things like the Azure, again I think it's the experts, like the AZ100 and AZ101 or something. that you pass both exams and you get the certification. There's the sort of traditional ones like the MCSA. I don't think the MCSA even exists anymore, but it used to be you pass 3 exams and you got the MCSA. So I would probably not think of exams as being the thing that you're trying to achieve. I would think of the certifications as being the things you're trying to achieve. And if you've got one exam towards a certification that needs 2 or 3 exams, go out and get the other ones and get the cert, because generally Microsoft are looking for people to have the full cert rather than just a single exam. And on their own, they're definitely not worth as much as they are for the full cert. Obviously, get the exams on your LinkedIn. Get the exam. You get like a little badge when you pass the exam. Stick the badge on your social media. If you think it's something that a potential hiring manager might see, it's worth letting people know that you're certified. You can also share your transcript from the Microsoft Learn website. You get a transcript of all the exams you've taken, all the certifications you've taken. It's worth sharing that when you share your CV. I mean, I've received people's printed off transcripts before, stapled to a CV, just to prove that they've actually got the exams they say they have. And yeah, I think that's a fairly good brain dump of what it's worth looking at if you're looking at starting to get certified, or why you should get certified. I might try and make a more concise version that just bullet points it at some point, but for now, brain dump, enjoy. Hopefully you like this, and if you want to talk about certifications or talk about certification advice, or any IT career advice in general, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always happy to sort of offer advice and guidance on what people can do to progress. And yeah, obviously like subscribe to the channel so I can keep making these videos. Cheers.